Eric from the Saltwater Edge, and today we're out here with Captain Ray Jarvis of Salt of the Earth Sportfishing, and we're out of the shop. So nice to be out here fishing today, and specifically today we're targeting bluefin tuna on the jig. So we've been jigging all morning. We've had a very good morning jigging. Double-digit fish to the boat, plenty of fish in the cooler, but I thought it would be a good opportunity to stop and talk about different types of jigs, what we've been using today, what worked really well, and then some techniques. Yep. And so, Ray, what are some jigs that have been working?
So today we used a variety of jigs and we got fish on pretty much all of them. But kind of right off the bat, we started with some metal. So, you know, basically a hoagie sand eel pattern right here in the albicrack color. You know, size of jig really depends on the sea state day to day. So today we have a pretty good drift. So we went with some heavier jigs, and you know, once we put a few fish in the boat, we experimented with different sizes and actually did pretty well on like 125, 126 gram jig. But we also got fish on a 150, and we also got fish on the harness jig and, you know, the Ron's tail and all that stuff. So it was really just a matter of getting our jigs down there and being in the right place when that bite was hot first thing this morning. Yep. So.
And what do you, like when you're picking out jigs for the day, what are you looking for?
So mainly, like, what I like to do personally is low light conditions. I like to go with something that's gonna stand out a bit more. So something with glow. We got a little glow there. We got a UVT with pink glow there. And even this harness jig has a glow head on it. So early on, you know, I like something that's going to stand out and just get a little bit more attention. As we get some daylight penetrating the water, I like to switch to something that's a little bit more natural looking, a little bit more metallic-y flash to it. Again, for the reason that you're getting more attention. So, you know, the glow as the day goes on is, you know, probably still creating some commotion down there and getting some looks, but I just like the flash effect, and that's a personal thing. I mean, I know plenty of guys that use glow throughout the day, but it's whatever you're confident in.
Nice. So, all right, next up we're going to take a look at some different jigging techniques and a look at what these jigs look like when they're coming down and coming back up. Let's take a look.
All right. So one technique I like to use you know, pretty regularly is kind of a speed jigging technique. So, you know, that's basically we send our jig down and we're going to do a pretty rapid retrieve. And really you want to kind of try find a rhythm with jigging. You don't want to be kind of erratic and all over the place. Try find some sort of rhythm. And as you go, you'll kind of pick it up. But speed jigging would basically be about a half a crank, but a lot of rod movement. So you can see that rod is bounce, 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 and my handle is actually cranking relatively slow in comparison. Versus more of a slow pitch retrieve, which you're still moving it from the bottom to the top through the water column, but you're allowing, with a slow pitch, you're allowing that jig to kind of flutter down in between the pops of the rod. So as this jig is coming up, it's fluttering a little bit, coming up, fluttering a little bit, and coming up. So here you can see that I'm allowing it half a second to a second to fall. So it's one pop, and again, a pretty slow retrieve with the handle of the reel, but allowing that jig to flutter down. Another technique is fishing these harness jigs, whether it's a hoagie or a Ronzi, pretty similar. What I really like to do with these, and what I always have going on the boat, is one of these in a rod holder, dead sticked basically right down near the bottom. You can see the sea state today, the boat's kind of going up and down. So by having that lure dead stick near the bottom, you can imagine just the simple rod movement, I mean the simple boat movement of that raising, grab it.
Literally, as you're talking about that stick.
That's crazy.
It got hit.
Probably pulled the tail on it. That's wild. I'll keep going?
Yeah.
All right. So literally as I'm talking about that, we have another rod on the other side of the boat, dead sticking. As I mentioned, literally just sitting down by the bottom. The boat's really creating the movement, so this thing's dancing around. And the fish really respond to it quite well. In this area, there's a lot of bait on the bottom. Today, we've been seeing a lot of whiting coming up on our jigs. If we let that jig sit down there for any period of time, a whiting tends to jump on it. So these bluefin, when they're near the bottom, are most certainly eating those whiting. And these are a great representation of those fish. So by having a presentation down there in the mix, kind of in their face, you're gonna get bites. It's a great way to put fish in the boat and, just another line in the water while you're jigging with metal or whatever it may be. You can always have another one out in the rod holder and produce more fish. So again, we have a kind of a glow pattern here, which is what I like to start my day with. These really stand out down at the bottom of the water column and in low light conditions, obviously. So, this is an example of the metal jigs that we like to fish. This is a UVT 120. And I really like the 120 to 150 gram size if I can fish them, depending on the sea state again. So if need be, we'll go to a heavier jig, maybe up to a 220, 280, depending on the day. So let's send this guy down. So this is an example of, a dead stick bait we could fish on the bottom. These have a lot of action in their tail on their own, and as you can kind of see here, just the slight movement of the boat really puts a lot of action in the tail of that bait. So you can just kind of picture it dead sticking on the bottom and imagine this thing really not taking too much movement to make it look pretty lifelike.
So there you have it, a couple more techniques you can use on your next trip out tuna jigging. There's a lot of different ways you can do it, a lot of different jigs out there, but those are some good basic techniques to get started with, as well as a couple jig styles to get started with.
Yep.
And where can people find out more about Salt of the Earth Sport Fishing?
You can look me up at NE Sport Fishing, like New England, or Salt of the Earth Sport Fishing. If you give me a Google, you'll find me there, or on Instagram at Salt of the Earth Sport Fishing.
And we'll put a link to Ray in our description, and hopefully we'll see you out there. If you like this video, give us a like, subscribe to the Saltwater Edge, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching.